All right, so I normally talk a lot about really tangible and specific strategies and tactics in my videos with you guys. And I mean, you can see a lot of those in my past YouTube videos. However, today what I want to talk through is something that is just as important, which is what to do if no one around you supports you and you're struggling to feel confident and believe in your dreams of wanting to build your own online business. And this is so important because it doesn't matter if you have the best strategies and tactics and mentors and coaches and information in the world. If you do not believe that it's possible, you're getting discouraged, you're giving up, then guess what? You're not gonna get the results and build the business you want. I've seen it. At this point, I have worked with well over 1,000 students and clients to help them build their own online businesses, and I see it time and time again. Same strategies. If you take two students, the one who works on overcoming the lack of support and confidence initially, on top of doing the strategies and tactics and following the advice, ends up actually getting the clients the results in the business that they want, versus someone who might actually start off with better foundational things, like maybe a higher paying job so they have more disposable income to invest in their business, maybe more confidence from their job success, but because they don't work on overcoming that lack of support and maybe confidence initially, then they don't end up getting the results that they want. So that's what I'm gonna talk about with you today. And I've got a few kind of tips and stories and really good strategies to share with you that I've seen work really well for my students and clients over the past few years and for myself. So let's jump right into it. All right, so when I think about the number one most important thing to do when you're in a place you're wanting to build your own business, and let's say you're surrounded by people who don't know what it's like to be an entrepreneur. All they know is the typical 9-to-5, and they want that for you as well. You didn't grow up around any entrepreneurs. That's where I was, by the way. So very typical Asian parents. Hey, Louisa, get the engineering degree, get a good steady job, have the 9-to-5, feel free to climb the corporate ladder, but that's the path we want for you, right? Be safe, have a steady job, and that's the dream. And we didn't know any. No one in my family was an entrepreneur. We didn't know any either. And so when I first wanted to start my business, and by the way, let me just give you an idea of what I'm talking about. When I started one of my first online businesses, which was doing digital advertising consulting, and I want you to hear this. This was exactly what I was being paid 6 figures in my job to do at the time. So obviously I was good at it. I knew what I was doing, right? I got my first client and doing exactly that, what I was paid in my job to do, which my parents knew and were very proud of me for. I called up my dad, well, my mom and dad. My dad was on the phone. And I said, hey guys, I got my first client. How cool is this? I thought they'd be really excited. My dad said, how did you scam them into paying you? Again, even though it was exactly what I knew how to do from my job. And the reason is because it was such a foreign world to my parents. That's the kind of lack of support that I was facing, just to give you an idea. So one of the top things that you can do is basically build in quick wins or confidence boosters into your journey as quickly and as soon as possible. I'm going to give you some examples of what I'm talking about. So with quick wins, this is what I mean. When you're building a business, well, actually, let me give you a different analogy. Let's say you're trying to work out and lose weight, right? Let's say you're trying to lose 10 pounds. You're not going to expect to lose 10 pounds tomorrow. But maybe in 2 days, if you've been eating well, you can jump on the scale and realize, hey, I've lost a pound or 2. That feels really good and exciting, and I'm seeing it be possible. Maybe in a week down the road, because you've been eating better, right, you start feeling better. You start noticing some differences in how your clothes fit, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is happening. That's what I mean by quick wins. And I love to use like health coaching analogies, especially because most of us can relate to that. Whereas with business, it might be a little bit harder to relate to initially because of all the things that I just mentioned. So anyways, back to quick wins for your business, what does that mean? I mean specific things that are going to build your confidence bit by bit and show you, whoa, this is not a pipe dream, this is possible. So let me give you some examples of quick wins I actively sought and then wrote down, hey, this is a win, this is showing me it's possible. You have to consciously do that, otherwise it can be really easy to overlook it and be like, oh, that just happened, I still don't know if it's possible. So you have to actively seek to create that belief. So what are some examples, right? So for example, one of the first things I did when I was doing digital advertising consulting was I thought, where would my potential clients be? My potential clients were small business owners who wanted help with ads. And so I went into Facebook groups, online Facebook groups, because that's where a lot of my audience was hanging out. And I remember going into a group and I remember searching for terms related to what I do or I did, like ads or Facebook ads or cost per lead or campaign, just like all these random terms that I could think of related to what I could help people with. And guess what? When I typed in some of those terms, I saw results about people asking questions about that. Like, hey, should I be doing this? Is this good? Is this bad? Things like that. That I wrote down. You can literally keep a list of quick wins so that every time you're feeling doubtful, you can look at it. This is really key. If you don't write it down, it's really, really easy to forget. And so I wrote that down. And then the first win was, oh my gosh, people are actually asking about this, right? So that might seem really small, but it created so much excitement for me, especially in the beginning when I needed every little hint to kind of show me, hey, this is possible. So I did that. Then I started answering some of those questions. Like, hey, I can help you with this. Here's what I would recommend. Here are my best tips. And I would say things like, look, I do this in my job. I work with the clients that my employer has are really established companies like BMW and Mercedes and Coastal Contacts and things like that. And so, kind of know what I'm doing. And here are my best tips. So I would let people know, hey, I'm not just some rando off the street trying to give you some ads advice. This is actually what I do in my job. And people would respond and they would ask more questions or they would say, thank you, this was so helpful. Every time I got some response like that, I would write it down right on my quick wins list. So it'd be like, oh my gosh, people are actually interested in what it is that I have to say. Like there is interest in that. This could potentially be a business, right? So you're creating this belief within yourself. Again, this can be really easy to dismiss because I could have decided to think, oh my gosh, I don't have a client yet. I don't know how to set up a website for myself. I don't know how the long-term strategy is going to look for this business, so on, so on, so on. There's a lot to do in building a business, right? But instead, I chose to look actively for the quick wins. That's key, and mark them down and remind myself of them. So I did that, and then that led to actually me getting my first paying client. Exact same thing. I saw her asking questions. I answered the questions and I said, hey, you know what? This is what I do in my job. Everything I just shared with you. This is what I do in my job. Would you be interested in hopping on a call with me? I'm happy to answer all of your questions. All I ask in return is that you answer some of my market research questions so that I can see if this might be something that I'm interested in doing for a business, I could do for a business. And so we did that. And then afterwards, she asked me follow-up questions for about 2 weeks or so. And I would just answer them because I was noting these as quick wins. I wasn't thinking, oh my gosh, I'm giving too much free advice. At that point, I was kind of like, oh, someone cares about what I have to say. Awesome, right? And so one day out of the blue, she emailed me and she said, hey, you've given me so much amazing value for free. I know I'm going to get so much more if I hire you. How can I hire you? I had to say to her, hey, hold on, this is amazing. I would love to work with you. Give me a week to figure out what I can even sell and what's a fair price and offer to both of us. And let's talk in a week. So we did, and she ended up buying from me because she was already ready to do that based on all the value and conversations that we'd already had. And so obviously that went on the quick wins list, right? Like, oh my gosh, I got one paying client. And instead of thinking, okay, maybe it was a fluke, which by the way did come up a lot, or how am I going to do this again? I focused on the positive, right? So lots of tips actually in this one tip, focusing on the positive, actively choosing to focus on the quick wins, looking for the quick wins, lots and lots of things from this one tip alone. So that is the number one thing, because motivation, confidence, initial optimism will only carry you so far before you can start feeling like, I don't have that many clients yet, I'm not making the progress I want, versus if you look at, hey, this is what I did, these are the quick wins I've gotten, how awesome is that, right? So really, really key. That's the first tip. The second tip that I would recommend is to surround yourself with proof. And here's what I mean. Look, have you really noticed pretty much whenever you start thinking about something, you see proof of it? If you start thinking, I can't possibly lose weight, well, guess what? You don't, right? Maybe you overeat one day, or you skip a workout and then you skip another one, and so on and so forth. If you're looking for examples of, hey, I'm looking for examples of people who've been where I am and have lost the weight, you see them, you find them, you just notice more of where it is your attention is. It's the same thing for building an online business. And so I remember in the beginning when I thought, hey, is this really possible? Can I really replace this 6-figure job that I've put so much work and time into building, this career? Can I really do it? Can I really do it before I leave my job, while I'm in my job? And I remember going online and looking for proof that it was possible. I Googled things like building a business before you leave a job, building your business on the side, building a 6-figure online business, all the things I could think of. I went into online Facebook groups and I Googled or searched for terms like that just to hear about success stories and look for that. And every day, because the doubt comes up a lot, every day, as soon as I thought of the fears, like, oh, is this really possible? All of that, I basically just reminded myself, oh, hey, nope, not gonna think about that. I'm gonna think about so-and-so who had this amazing story. This random guy I found who built his own online business and paid off his first house, right? Just like all the stories that I had found to remind myself of what could be possible. And then I reminded myself of things that I had used to think were impossible before I'd accomplished them. So let's see. Learning to play the piano. Honestly, when I first started, I thought it was just the most impossible thing in the world. And lesson by lesson, practice by practice, right? I got to this point where I was able to play this one song that I really wanted to play. It was a Chopin etude, in case you're curious. But anyways, so things like that. Or growing up, I had a certain body type and I wanted to lose some weight and get fit because no one in my family had cared about fitness, family of nerds. And so I wanted to get more fit and be able to like do a pull-up and be able to run a mile without stopping, which for me was a massive accomplishment. And I didn't think it was possible. My parents were like, what are you talking about? No one in our family has ever done that. Don't even try to do that. And well, I was like, let me try this. What's it gonna hurt? And so everything, you look for the proof around you. And then every time you have that doubt, you see, hey, so-and-so did it, so-and-so did it, so-and-so did it. Why couldn't I? And you have to stop thinking that maybe they're special, or maybe they're lucky, or maybe they knew something that you don't. Maybe that's the case, but if you see evidence after evidence after evidence of those things and you constantly bombard yourself with those thoughts, guess what? You start thinking, hey, maybe it's possible for me too, right? So again, actively choosing to surround yourself with that proof. That is really key. The next thing that I did that really made a difference is, and this is a question I get a lot, what do you do when nobody around you, like your friends and family, are encouraging you at all? In fact, they're actively discouraging you. And I just shared with you earlier how when I called my dad and shared how exciting it was that I'd gotten my first client in my digital advertising business, he actually said, hey, how'd you scam them into paying you, right? I mean, even after I built that business to 6 figures and left my job, I called up my mom and told her that I had turned in my notice. She was like, whoa, you really did it. I didn't really think you'd be able to. Right? So again, it's not because my parents were like not wanting me to succeed. It was because they really didn't believe it was possible, and they wanted to try and protect me from being disappointed. You have to understand where the people around you are coming from. They want what's best for you, but here's the thing. They are giving you the feedback they have based on their perspective, based on what they know. So if they themselves have not built a successful business, of course to them, and they don't know themselves anyone who has, of course to them it seems like this crazy pipe dream, and they would give you that feedback. You know, I once read, I can't remember where I read this in an article, where the author was saying, hey, look, our parents don't want let me rephrase. Our parents want us to be safe, not to be challenged to grow, right? They want what's best for us in terms of they want you to be happy. They want you to have a stable job. They don't want you to have to worry about taking risks or maybe your finances or the things that you might have to do a little bit to be able to grow. So same thing with my parents. They wanted me just to have a stable job, not work too hard, have a good income, right? Live a good life. But I wanted more, as I'm sure you do because you're watching this video. And so in that case, you have to understand that's their perspective. When I realized, oh, it's not because my parents, my friends don't want me to succeed. It's because they want me to be happy based on their version of happiness and success. Okay, it's because we have a different point of view. Once I understood that, I was able to handle it a lot better. I was able to not let it discourage me. And I was able to say, hey, you know what? Completely get it. I understand we have different points of view. I'm still in my job. I'm focusing on that. So don't even worry. But you know what? Let's just not talk about my business stuff for a while. So I didn't talk to them about it for a while because I was still building my confidence. I was still nurturing the belief in myself. And I knew if I got too much discouragement, I would maybe give up or feel really discouraged. And so I said, you know what? We don't need to talk about it. You can think about it as a hobby. You can think about it as something I'm going to forget about, whatever. Let's just not talk about it. So I didn't talk about that to my parents or my friends or anybody for a really long time, to be honest. Like after the initial phase where I called my parents and my dad said, you know, how are you scamming this person who's paying you for exactly the thing you're being paid even more to do in your job? I just didn't talk to my parents about wanting to build a business at all. And so maybe I said one or two things, but I really didn't say anything until that call to my mom to say, hey, I've turned in my notice because I've crossed 6 figures in my business. And so that's what you have to do what you have to do. No one can live your life for you. Everyone is going to try and put their perspective, their goals for you on you. You have to choose yourself, right? And that leads me into the next thing, which is really important to hear, which is that, hey, you know, you've got to really believe in yourself. Even if it's that little kernel of belief that you create from your first few quick wins, you've got to believe that what you want for yourself is more true than what others want for you. It is your life. And so I remember, you know, there was another point in my business. This is one of the few points I talked about where I did talk with my parents about my business, where, so I have family in China and my grandparents are in China, my dad's parents. And so my dad wanted me to go home and visit my grandparents. And I said, hey, no, my business is just starting to get some momentum. I can't go right now because it's going to be a different time zone. How am I going to tell my clients I need to switch my calls and the internet there is not as great. And so, you know what he said to me? He was quiet for a few seconds and then he said, okay, I see the type of person that you are now. If you think this business is the thing that's going to change your life, change our lives, you're delusional. And I remember that really hurt. I mean, it was so discouraging. Looking back now, you know, obviously things worked out. But the reason I'm sharing this is because, look, not having the support of those around you doesn't have to be a big obstacle in your path. It can just be something that you realize, look, It's maybe part of the process of becoming an entrepreneur that so many entrepreneurs go through it. And it's just something that you prepare for and you realize. And at that moment, after I, got over my initial sadness and shock, I can't remember if I said it directly on the call or if I just told myself that because I didn't want to speak back to my dad. But I basically said, hey, you know what? That's my dad's thing. I've got to trust for myself that I know better what's going to be best for me and for my family than so-and-so, than my dad, than my friends, and so-and-so. You've got to trust yourself. Even if it's that little kernel of trust that you built through seeing some quick wins, right? That little kernel is how you start. And then you build on it bit by bit with the other steps that I've shared in this video. So that is really key. Now, the final step is, just as important as all the other steps. Like, these are all the things literally that I myself did, that I do with the over 1,000 students I've worked with at this point, to really make sure that, hey, not only are you doing the steps and strategies that are going to lead you to success, but you're setting yourself up mentally to succeed. Because without that mental piece and that confidence, right? Again, doesn't matter how good the strategies are, you're not going to implement them. You're going to give up really easily, and you're not going to get what you want, which is so possible though. What you want is so possible. And so the final piece is to surround yourself with the people, whether that's an accountability partner, whether that's coaches, whether that's courses, whether that's a course community, of people who are doing what it is you want to do. And that way, guess what? You get to see all of these people around you who have been where you are and are where you want to be. How motivating is that? And you can say, hey, they use the same course or coach or whatever information or training or support that I have access to right now. So they don't know anything I don't know. I have access to the exact same thing that they used. That does amazing things for your confidence, to be surrounded by people in that community or by coaches who can tell you, hey, look at so-and-so. They did this. I helped them do this. They've done this using the same information that you have. And you're able to see, oh my gosh, this is possible. And you're regrounding into it based on the people that you surround yourself with. It's true, right? And so you've got to not only move away from the things that are maybe holding you back to your current job and life based on the people you're around and what they know, but you've got to re-anchor in this new life, new world, new goals by surrounding yourself with the right people. There's that common saying, right? You are the sum of the closest 5 people to you. And it's because it's true. And so, when I first started, I invested in courses, coaches, because even though I knew my stuff, which of course you should and absolutely have to know when you're building my business, I knew how to run ads, right? I didn't know how to do sales. I'd never done a sales call in my life. I wasn't a great copywriter. The way I wrote was how we're taught to write in corporate, like very professional. I would say things like, please advise, and obviously that's not what people connect with online, on social media, or when they're reading your content. And so I had to learn all of that. And so I could have chosen to figure it out on my own and maybe feel like, okay, I'm gonna make progress bit by bit. But instead I said, hey, I believe in myself, all of the things that we talked about earlier, and I invested in the right communities, coaches, courses, all of those things that I needed because I chose to believe in myself and invest in myself. And so there are lots of different strategies and tips that we just went over for what to do if you are not being supported. And this is so key. So when you need it, because it's not a one and done type of thing. Just like you don't work out once and be fit for the rest of your life. From time to time, you're going to get a rejection or an obstacle or a discouragement. It's going to be helpful for you to pull up this video or whatever other video that encourages you. It doesn't have to be mine. Maybe it's one of my other videos. Whatever works for you, to listen to that, to re-ground yourself in all of the things that we just talked through, to realize that even though building a business might feel big and scary, which it can definitely be, it's just another goal, just like any other goals you've set in your life where when you set them, maybe you didn't know how you were going to reach them. It's doable, right? It doesn't need to be overly complicated. It doesn't need to be impossible. It's going to take work and dedication, just like every other thing in your life. But this is how you ground into that and make it happen for yourself, no matter what the people around you are thinking, because it's your life, it's not theirs. All right, so really hope you found this helpful and you got some really great ahas from it for how to shift the way you're thinking and be able to support yourself and create the environment that you need to succeed. So this is what I would love for you to do. I shared so many different tips and strategies, and I know different people resonate with different ones. Let me know in the comments which one you most connected with, which one was the biggest aha for you. And then, speaking of strategies and tactics, I do have a different, I mean, this was really valuable, but just a more strategic kind of tactical video on the high level plan for building a profitable 6-figure online business. So that now that you know how to really think about it and have that confidence for yourself, then you can see, okay, now that I've got that base, I can build that confidence even more by realizing this is how it happens, right? So you've got both pieces. It's not just blind optimism or confidence. So that video is linked somewhere for you, either on the screen and or in the description below. So make sure you check that out. And I also have a really great PDF for you on the my high-level overview for building a 6-figure online business, as well as the top 3 mistakes to make sure you avoid. I see these 3 mistakes all the time with new students in my courses and coaching programs. And so I want to make sure we help you avoid those mistakes. And so make sure you sign up for the PDF, again, somewhere on the screen and or in the description below to get access to them and avoid them for yourself. All right, so that's it for today. If you are new to my community and you loved this video, hit the subscribe button to be notified when I release a new video every week on building your own online coaching and course business. Thanks for watching, and I will talk to you next time.